right now of updating all of our information for the 2021 year. And in fact, next Tuesday, November 10th, we will be having our kickoff from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Hawaii time. And so if you look at the slide that is on your screen right now, that is our website, Invest.Hawaii.Gov. And if you go to the High Step tab, which is under the exporting section of our website, you can see the entire program and you can register for our kickoff. But just as a quick overview, we have 3 components of our High Step, which is our export readiness program, which consists of seminars such as these and other business advising and one-on-one mentoring with some of our partner organizations. We also have funding available for direct company assistance for companies that are interested in executing certain parts of their export plan, which they must submit to us to review. And lastly, we also help to support Hawaii pavilions at various trade shows. So those are the main components. But again, if you go to invest.hawaii.gov, please check out our High Step program and register for our kickoff on Tuesday, November 10th. And if you have any questions, my contact information is on our website, and feel free to email me. Thank you, mahalo, and I would like to turn over to Gordon Jiang, the Director of the Beijing Office of State of Hawaii Office. Mahalo.
Aloha, everybody, to our friends in Hawaii, and ni hao, 谢谢 our friends, speakers from China. And this is our second webinar, and with the theme of the challenges and opportunities when doing business in China. And besides the bigger topic, we also try to touch upon the important thing of what businesses are most viable in China. And today we have invited 5 experienced speakers. First speaker is Madam Bonnie Girard, the president of China Channel Limited. And the second speaker is from our sister state, Hainan province. The third speaker, our second, Fiona Wang. And our third speaker, Ms. Kaifang Xue, representing our sister state, Guangdong province. She is from the Guangdong Provincial Investment Promotion Board. And our fourth and fifth speakers, you saw them last time, Dr. Harley Sayedin, and our law practitioner and from Hawaii, Russell Liu. So without, you will see them later. And now I would like to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Bonnie Girard, from the president of China Channel Limited. And I'm sure that you've seen the bios from our literature and promotional materials of the speakers. So I talk a little bit about things that are not on the official distribution of bulletins. Bonnie Girard was among the first who went to China in the late 1980s. She meant to study in China for 1 year, and it turned out she stayed for the next 30 years. And she studied and worked, and then eventually she set up her own company in China. She traveled to all over the places in China, and probably she's more traveled than most of us Chinese. And in those over 30 years, she brought more than, well, hundreds of projects to China and sent Chinese businesses to other parts of the world. And I'm sure that she has a lot of stories of successes and failures and to share with you. And now I have the honor to invite Madam Bonnie Girard. We can see her. Hello, Bonnie. We can see your slide, but cannot hear you. Well, she had a little bit communication problem earlier, so still we cannot. Give it another try, or well, Tim, probably you can, it's better to stop sharing Bonnie's screen and we move to our next speaker. And if Bonnie solved the problem, we come back a little bit later. And now we invite our second speaker, Ms. Fiona Wang from Hainan Provincial Bureau of International Economic Development. She is representing the organization. And as I told earlier, that Hainan is also our sister state. And Hainan is also an island economy, which has a lot of similarities with Hawaii. And with the new national strategy to promote Hainan as one of the key provincial economies, and she will share with us, you know, the opportunities and challenges, probably most opportunities with our audience in Hawaii. Now, Ms. Fiona Wang, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. 从第一个 你从开始 Okay. Good morning, afternoon, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. I'm Fiona from Hainan Provincial Bureau of International Economic Development. We are pleased to have our colleague from Hainan Provincial Foreign Affairs Office and Department from Department of Commerce from Hainan to attend this meeting too. So now it's my great honor to share the new cooperation opportunities between Hawaii and Hainan Free Trade Port. Listen. 回到 first slide. Okay. So on 1st June 2020, the overall plan for Hainan Free Trade Port was officially released to the world. So Hainan will align with international economic and trade protocols and standards and become a flagship of China's opening up and the key opening door in the new era. So by 2025, Hainan will focus on the implementation of trade and investment system. And by 2035, Hainan will achieve a free and convenient flow of trade, investment, capital, people, transportation, and secure data transfer. So now you may be wondering, what can you benefit if you set up a foreign company in Hainan? So first of all, you will enjoy a preferential tax policies. For corporate, so for those enterprises registered in Hainan in the current industry and will have a practical operation in Hainan are entitled to a corporate income tax rate of 15%. So this is very competitive. As we know, the other famous free trade port, Singapore, their corporate income tax rate is 17%. And for the capital expenditures, they are allowed to be fully deducted from the taxable income for the current year or depreciated or amortized at an accelerated rate. Then for the personal income tax, for those high-end talents and urgently needed talents working at Hainan Free Trade Port could enjoy a personal income tax burden of 15%. This as compared to Singapore is 22%. So we welcome talents from Hawaii to work in Hainan and enjoy the personal income tax rate benefits. For the trade import, we are implementing zero tariff policy on certain imported goods. So before 2025, we will have 1 negative and 3 positive lists. Those goods listed on these 4 lists will exempted from import duties, import VAT, and consumption tax. So roughly 2025, except for 1 catalog, all imported goods are exempted from import duties. So as mentioned earlier, the 1 negative and 3 positive list for those zero tariff items, right? They are product equipments imported for their own use. Or for example, the ships, aircrafts, and yachts imported for the purpose of transportation or tourism. And for those raw materials imported for production within Hainan and for processed trade also. So for those Hainan residents, they are entitled to purchase imported consumer goods to enjoy the duty-free also. Hainan Free Trade Port actually established a free flow through the first line and efficient control as the second line. So first line means the custom between Hainan and overseas. Then it will become will uplift all the restrictions, become a free flow. And the second line means the custom between Hainan and the mainland China. So they will have efficient control. So for those imported goods, if they are enjoy the zero tariffs into Hainan and they want to enter in the mainland, they have to deliver all the duties unless they are fulfill the rule of origin, which means the in-current industries products with imported materials, they have to process in Hainan with an added value over 30%. Then when they enter in the mainland, they are entitled to exemption from import duties, but they have to pay the import VAT and consumption tax. Okay, now you may be curious, what are the key industries that Hainan want to develop? So Hainan will focus on tourism, modern services, and high-tech industries. So we welcome entrepreneurs from all these 3 industries to invest in Hainan. So Hainan is aimed to become an international tourism and consumption destination. So we had already gathered all the world-famous luxury brands to take advantage of Hainan offshore duty-free shopping policies, which means for the tourists who will depart from Hainan, they are allowed to purchase a duty-free duty-free goods up to RMB 100,000 per person per year. And they can choose the goods from 45 categories. So after the release of this policy from 1st July 2020, the average daily sales is at over $20 million US. Okay, after shopping, you may take a cruise at Sanya. So Sanya want to build the largest home port for cruise in the world, and we attract more international cruise operators to register in Sanya, and the same as for yachts. So for the Hainan also want to build the world's most beautiful 998 kilometer long island loop tourist country road, which is quite similar to Hawaii Belt Road. So along the road, we will have 40 attractive stations with distinctive features. So we welcome Hawaii, the people, companies with a lot of experience on building the stations to come and to have a business here also. Then for the modern service industry, so we welcome global trading companies to set up their headquarters here, and also welcome global designers to have their office here. And we also want to become an international exhibition and convention center. As talking about exhibition, so at 7 to 10 May 2020, Hainan will organize China International Consumer Products Expo. This is the only national level expo focused on the export of consumer products. This is co-organized with Ministry of Commerce and Hainan provincial government. All the exhibition products are entitled to tax exemption. So this is a golden platform and perfect gateway to China market. As talking about high-tech industry, so all ICT, AI, big data companies are welcome too. So now you may be wondering, where can I locate my company at? Hainan have 11K industry parks, which you can select based on your company need to select your location. Then who you can looking for? Maybe you say, I think I know nothing about Hainan, who I can looking for? You can look for us, Hainan IEDB. We are your first stop for global investors to land in Hainan, and we provide one-stop services for you. So today, just a very short introduction. If you like, you can go to our website, www.invest.hainan.cn for further details and download our investment guide. Thank you.
Super. Wow. Very exciting, because I myself haven't been to Hainan for 8-9 years, and it must be exciting that you know, Hainan is now a national development zone, and I believe that there will be, according to the presentation, there will be new opportunities for Hawaii businesses, especially in tourism and services. I understand that there will be competition because we share a lot of similarities, but if the industry is growing, and I believe it also creates a lot more opportunities than competitions. And if you have questions for Fiona, and you can either input your question at the question box at the lower panel, or you can wait till all the speakers finish their presentations. You can ask her directly. And let's now move on to our next speaker, Madam Xue Kaifang, or Kaifang Xue. She is the Deputy Director General of the Guangdong Provincial Investment Promotion Board. And Guangdong Province, as most of our friends in Hawaii know, is also a sister state of probably is the first sister state Hawaii in China. And we over the years we have worked together closely on a lot of projects like tourism, like trade, like education, and as you know, that most of the Chinese origin in Hawaii came from Guangdong Province. And now she will tell us, you know, what new opportunities in the changing times that the province has to offer to, you know, our friends in Hawaii. Now, Madam Xue, please.
Hello, everybody. Dear friends in Hawaii, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's my great pleasure to attend the seminar and meet you all online. I would like to extend my warm welcome to all of you and express my sincere gratitude to the representatives of Hawaii. This year marks the 35th anniversary of the establishment of sister state province relationship between Guangdong and Hawaii. I remember that Governor David Icke delivered a warm speech in 2020 China Guangdong U.S. Investment Promotion Conference in September. In response and thanks, I would like to give a brief introduction of Guangdong and business opportunities in the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area, which I think can be summarized by 5 keywords. The first keyword is gateway. Guangdong is located in the southernmost part of China's mainland, facing the South China Sea and neighboring Hong Kong and Macau. It's also well known as China's Southern Gate to the outside world, where the maritime Silk Road started thousands of years ago, and leads China's modern commerce to every corner of the world. The second is global. Guangdong is one of China's first advocates of the opening up policy, and it's one of the most commercially active regions in China. Its open, inclusive, and pragmatic culture and international environment have attracted more and more people from all over the world to do business in Guangdong. Guangdong has forged long-term and stable comparative relations with more than 230 countries and regions, and will continue to strengthen economy and trade cooperation under the Belt and Road Initiative. Guangdong plays host to a number of international expos, such as the Canton Fair, the barometer of China's foreign trade, the High-Tech Fair, China's top sci-tech event, and Guangdong 21st Century Maritime Silk Road International Expo. These events are testimony to China's sincere efforts to open itself to the outside world in new areas. The third is growth. In the past 40 years of reform and opening up, Guangdong has developed into the largest economic province in China. In 2019, Guangdong's GDP made a breakthrough to reach 10.77 trillion yuan, ranking first in the country for 30 consecutive years. The province's total import and export value stood at about 7.14 trillion yuan, accounting for about a quarter of the national total. There are 14 Guangdong enterprises enter Fortune Top 500 list. With a resident population of over 115 million, Guangdong has great market potential. Also, its per capita income level is high. The demand for quality goods and service is increasing fast. A dynamic Guangdong makes a freer economic factors, which helps to stimulate innovation. Here, advanced manufacturing has high production efficiency. I would like to take some example. Within a minute, 1,574 brand new mobile phones are produced. Within a minute, 2,151 LCDs are sold globally. Within a minute, 446,000 yuan is spent on scientific research and development. Within a minute, 5 civilian drones are made. Furthermore, Guangdong has been committed in accelerating the construction of digital government, which helps to improve the efficiency of government services and continuously optimize the business environment. Nowadays in Guangdong, more than 90% of government services can be handled online, which means foreign investors can enjoy one-stop services or electronic platform without going outdoor. The fourth is green. Guangdong is further promoting the construction of ecological civilization and continuously optimizing the quality of ecological environment. Today, all 9 cities in the Pearl River Delta have been built into national forest cities. The whole province forest coverage rate reached 58.61%, with 214 wetland parks and 125 forest towns scattered around. The air quality is stable and up to standard in recent years. The 5th is Greater Bay Area. Building Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area is a major national strategy. The state has made great efforts to promote the construction of the Greater Bay Area, such as building the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, opening the Guangzhou-Shenzhen-Hong Kong high-speed railway, attracting and gathering high-level talents, encouraging science and technological innovation, implemented provincial tax, etc. The rapid rise of vibrant world-class Bay Area and city cluster with international competitiveness can be expected soon. Finally, I would like to introduce Guangdong Board of Investment Promotion. Yes, I worked for this board. GDBIP is the first platform for foreign investors to come to Guangdong, which is affiliated to the Department of Commerce of Guangdong Province. The services of GDBIP mainly include marketing of Guangdong, investment projects introduction, guidance for the development of industry clusters, maintenance of government enterprises relationship, handling complaints from foreign enterprises. We welcome the friends from Hawaii to see business opportunities in Guangdong. We would like to invite Hawaii companies to participate in Canton Fair, the Hainan Fair, and Guangdong 21st Century Maritime Silk Road International Expo every year. Welcome to start business in the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area and enjoy a high-quality life here. Welcome to Guangdong for sightseeing and experience the beautiful subtropical scenery and the Asian Hainan culture. Welcome to Guangdong study and work, joining us in the contribution and the construction of Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area. Dear friends, Guangdong and Hawaii have solid foundations for cooperation and exchanges. We believe that we can capable to create a new success story in terms of mutual benefits and cooperation. I wish this seminar a great success. I wish you all well and healthy. Thank you all.
Super, thank you, Madam Xue. And well, you know, the first one was Hainan, and the second one is Guangdong. Well, Guangdong, as you know, is the wealthiest province in China. And I believe these two provinces together will be a considerable big market for Hawaii. I hope you agree with that. And well, you may wonder why we pick, you know, Hainan and Guangdong provinces to speak to our, you know, people who want to do business in China, because well, as Bonnie Girard will tell us, the importance of the government in China. And so if you want to do business in China, you have to have kind of support from the government offices. And these investment and trade promotion bureaus or boards are the local government resource that you can rely on. So can you hear me okay? I hear a lot of noise. Wow. Tim, can you take over and invite Miss Bonnie Girard to start, and I try to log in.
Yes. Sorry, I think Bonnie has the connection issue, so yeah, I think we couldn't hear. We're gonna mute first. Probably we can move forward. Okay, Gordon, let's keep moving. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I hear broken voices, so I thought it was my problem. All right. Then we move on to our next speaker, Dr. Haleh Sayedin. And the speaker who attended our first webinar knew him already. And without much introduction, the only thing I want to say is that he is the president of the American Chamber of Commerce in South China. And now let's invite Dr. Sayedin. Thank you.
Good morning and thank you. I see some very familiar faces here today. I'll try not to repeat everything I said the last webinar that we had, which I thought was very productive, but I do want to share some new information with you. Before that, the American Chamber of Commerce in South China, we represent some 2,300 members who are engaged in just about every type of business you can imagine. Our latest study showed that all of the companies which have been here 2 years or more are already profitable. 98% are achieving profitability. Profitability here in primarily in South China is better than any other place in the world. And I can tell you that for the last 4 years, our members in our studies have ranked Guangzhou as the most preferred destination for investment in China or anywhere for that matter. Having said that, we covered the provinces of Guangdong, Guangxi, Hainan, and Fujian province. But some of the things I'd like to point out is the fact that we have a tendency to look at China as a single country economy, where China is very much a continental economy with many different parts. When we look at, for example, Guangdong by itself is the 13th largest economy in the world. If it was a country, it would be number 13 in the world, and it's not a country, it's a part of China, but by itself is the 13th largest economy in the world. It's $1 trillion+ economy, and there are only about 20 countries in the world that have that size of economy. The Greater Bay Area is a very exciting part of China on its way for further development, but its GDP already exceeds that of Netherlands and some of the other developed nations. So we are looking at opportunity here. If you look at the Greater Bay Area, by 2025, you're looking at 65 million people, with producing a GDP of some 1.2+ trillion US dollars. Now, having looked at that, if Hawaii just simply looks at the South China, it can achieve a tremendous amount of export-oriented and both service and goods, because the potential is there. China is going to continue to grow. It is going to be the largest consumer market in the world, and I do believe that the Chinese population would very much prefer to get their hands on as much American goods as possible. I believe the market is wide open. As I said, our study, well, not our study, but Professor Michael Enright of the University of Hong Kong, former Harvard Business School study showed that the average across China, 1/3 of China's GDP is created by foreign invested enterprises. 27% of employment in China is created by foreign invested enterprises, and it is a far more open market than what we believe based on what is said in the media. Now, having said that, I'd like to share with you just some basic data based on studies that were done by the U.S.-China Business Council on what Hawaii and China are doing. Now, when we look at, we will see that between 2008 and 2017, goods exports to China grew by 64%. At the same time, goods exports to the rest of the world from Hawaii were down, they were minus 5% growth rate. Growth in services of exports to China by Hawaii between 2007 and 2016 grew by 228%. And that is really important because services are clean, they don't pollute, they clear, and they create the best quality jobs that you can have. Growth in services export into China, as I mentioned, was plus 228% during the same period of 2007-2016. Hawaii's export to the rest of the world, services export to the rest of the world, was only 27% increase over that same period of time. Now, when we look at what are Hawaii's top exports to China, they were basically, in top exports in goods. They were petroleum and coal products, aerospace products, 28 million, coal, petroleum, 40 million, basic chemicals was 24 million, scrap products, 17 million, fruits, trees, and nuts, 4.4 million. That one single area of consumer products is probably an area that should be looked at as the fastest possible growth market potential for Hawaii and China. When we look at the services, that was really where the expansion happened. Travel was 247 million, passenger fares were 60 million, education 35 million, and ocean freight and port services 23 million, air freight, port services 22 million. Now, having looked at, when we consider these numbers, we can see that while Hawaii has done well with China, the potential for future development is great. One of the things that areas that I looked at was education, 35 million worth of education export by universities of Hawaii to China. When we consider that the potential is 500,000 students, the opportunities are certainly there. One of the things that is worrisome, but that also represents great potential, is the fact that there are some 2,000 universities in the United States that accept foreign students, have accepted a lot of Chinese students, and there are 150 such universities in UK, for example. Australia has some 45 compared to our 2,000. Now, when we look at it, we realize I spoke at a presentation when U.S. News and World Report last month introduced its new university rankings around the world. I was speaking together with Professor John Van Vliet, who is professor. He was the former chair of former dean of USC Marshall School. He said that this year there have been more students that have applied to UK universities, 150 UK universities, than they have applied to all universities in the United States. It's something that I think Hawaii should really look at. From the weather, from the quality of education that you offer. We have worked very closely with some of your universities, and I think there's great potential there. There's great potential for consumer products, and of course, tourism is something that you really can build. The distance between China and Hawaii is much shorter than many other destinations, and I think there's great potential here. If I've said for the last 10 years, if you come into China to manufacture for export, don't come. The days of cheap labor, cheap land in China are over. They've been over for some time. But if you're coming here with a plan to sell to China, import to China, or actually come here to produce in China for China, you're more than welcome. The market welcomes you. The potential opportunity is clearly here. and you will, without a doubt, you will do very well. President Xi Jinping announced just recently that there are going to be 12 import centers that will be established throughout China, and they will be primarily focusing on importing goods, because one of the plans for China is to build a consumer-based market. And to do that, they realize that they need products for people to buy, not just what they have to buy, but things that are available that let people buy. For example, people don't have to buy an iPhone, but they do buy an iPhone simply because it's there and the consumer capability is there, the affordability limits are there. Having said that, I think the future is very bright. I would strongly recommend that you focus on South China. Our chamber, American Chamber of Commerce in South China, we're happy to work with you, with every one of you, with every one of your clients to try to help them reach the right people. I'm so happy to see that we have Ms. Xue Fang, a very dear friend of mine here who's helped our companies in a great way, and of course our representatives from Hainan. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Seiding. And well, I realized because I saw the presentation of Russell Liu, and I realized that you have some similarities in your presentations, but I'm sure that the similarities of their data and PPT proves that the many people, especially people in with their feet in China and their experience in China, they reach consensus. Where are the opportunities for Hawaii economy? And let's listen to Mr. Russell Liu, senior partner of Kingsfield law firm. He has he can practice law in both Hawaii and China, and he has been staying in Beijing, China for last 17 years. And after his presentation, and then you compare with what Dr. Seiding has just said, and then you have a better idea, what people from different perspectives, they come together. Thank you, Mr. Liu. Please go ahead. Mr. Russell Liu, your microphone. Yes, okay, thank you. No, I still cannot hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, super.
Okay, thank you very much. 3 tries before I'm out. Okay, ni hao to my counterparts in Guangdong, and thank you very much for State of Hawaii. Gordon, John, you've done it, and your staff has done a great job getting this information to our businesses in Hawaii. Thank you, Jamie Lum of High Step. I'll try to talk quickly because I've got a lot of slides. It's not meant to overpower you, but I want to give the slides to the audience if they're interested afterwards, and I'll try to highlight some of the important things. And thank you very much, Dr. Harley, because he said a lot of things that I hopefully won't think I'm repeating a lot of things, okay? So anyway, let me get to my first slide. So what I'm going to talk about today is really 3 things to keep in focus for a Hawaii audience. I'm a local boy from Hawaii. I practiced law in Hawaii for 20-something years. I've been in China and Beijing for 17 years. So I'm going to try to give you a perspective of somebody who's local that has lived and worked in China, kind of give you a local perspective, an American's perspective, and also a perspective through the Chinese eyes, looking about the business between the countries. So I'm going to talk about why China, the opportunities, the challenges, and lastly, I'm going to talk about some of my personal views as to what we should be thinking in Hawaii, a vision beyond 2020. So why China? Again, the important part of China is the answer is simple. It's 1.42 billion customers. That's a lot of customers. We say, wow. Well, it sounds simple, but it's really not that simple. Why? Because China is a very huge market. Even though there's a 1.52 billion customers, the real thing about it is that the customers in China, there are so different parts of China and the different regions, different kinds of people, urban dwellers, rural dwellers, from the north to south. And when I first got to China, the question I'm always asked is, where is your hometown? People want to figure out your profile, how they're going to do business with you, because they want to know your hometown. So they ask me, 你的老家在哪里? Which means, where's your hometown? So I always use a diplomatic answer. Well, 爸爸是北方人, 妈妈是南方人. My father's from the north, my mother's in the south. I could never go wrong. People were always happy to hear that. So I want to talk to you about something that I think is really important. Today, more so than 17 years ago when I first got to China. Today, China is transformed because it's more relevant to businesses in Hawaii, more today than it was 10, 15 years ago. Why? 10, 15 years ago, it was a manufacturing sourcing destination. And unless you went there to invest money, to build a factory, then to send products back to export to America, that was the kind of business model. Today, it's different because the model has changed. It's transformed now to a consumer market. And what's important is most Americans think that China is really an export powerhouse. We get that thought because we hear about the daily news about the US-China trade war, but it's really not longer just an export powerhouse. Exports still contribute to about 17.4% of China's GDP in 2019. But the reality today is that the domestic consumption is the largest one of the largest drivers of the Chinese economy. 80% of the Chinese GDP growth in 2019 is due to domestic consumption. So that gives a lot of opportunity now for businesses from Hawaii really to do something in China. If you came to me 10, 15 years ago, I would say, don't waste your time. But today, if you came to me, this is it. This is where the action. This is what it means, okay? This is a very real opportunity to Hawaii businesses, especially when the U.S. economy, COVID-19, all this is going on. China is an attractive market, okay? And it's rebounding. It's managed its COVID-19 issues and health issues. So this is a place to be. So what is really happening is, this means that the world is turning to China. China is becoming less exposed to the world, while the world's exposure to China is rising. It's a place to do business. It's the kind of business that Hawaii businesses are primed to do: retail, services, travel business. So, the most important thing in China is you want to know how real it is. The biggest measure of indicator is where the government backs up, its economic plan to say, we're going to focus on domestic consumption. This is really important, as Gordon Zhang has mentioned. Part of it is really because China is a central planning economy. This year, as we talk, the new 14th five-year plan is being drafted, and it's going to include there that one of the key domestic drivers is domestic consumption, okay? And this is great because the consumer spending base already contributes 50% of the national GDP. And plans are to increase that GDP from the consumer base. Now, really turning to what are the opportunities for Hawaii, as Dr. Harley's mentioned, he's mentioned some statistics, but I'm going to try to focus in what I think from a local point of view, okay? Meaning what I would tell a local client going to China. I think you're going to have to first look at what are the Chinese really buying? And the numbers that Dr. Harley presented are all good numbers. But I think the opportunities are there if you look carefully. In 2019, the number one goods export from Hawaii were tree nuts. And this was at $13 million, 2019. But that's not the real story. You have to look in 2017, when the amount was about $3 to $4 million. That amount has tripled in sales, in growth in just 2 years. And the key to it is because there are more consumers in China. It's a bigger buying class. The middle class is large. it's almost 500,000, and they're buying things, okay? And the Chinese now consumers think about health conscious, and nuts in China has always been one of the ways you snack is something healthy. So that market is going to grow some more. The other thing is in service exports. If you total airfares and the travel tourism, that's $303 million. And I'm going to talk a minute ago about some of the challenges to that. The other thing that Dr. Harley mentioned about was travel education. That's really education tourism. In 2018, that was $40 million, okay? So that's in Hawaii alone, okay? Over on the US, it's $13.5 billion industry, just the education component. Okay, some of the challenges, I know that some of you are in the tourism industry and you know that the actual decline in Chinese tourism, it peaked in 2015 before the trade war, before the US-China current relationship meltdown. And in 2019, this decline was more pronounced. The decline was 26% to the third quarter. So what is the problem? What are the opportunities? And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes in the later slides. So again, talking about educational tourism, the only thing that I just got off the news a day ago, and I put in the PowerPoint, is that the new stats show that between April and September this year, the US granted only 808 F1 visas. And that's 99% fewer than the 90,000 plus F1 visas granted for the same period last year. So a lot will happen depending how the elections turn out, will the direction change. So there's a caveat, but hopefully I think Hawaii is really primed to go into this market with a good schools. And I think the one or two things most important for the Chinese are safety. Many of them, I also teach in Beijing, many of the students are very worried about America, the continental USA. They're worried about all the violence that's going on. So Hawaii has a really great platform if you talk about safety and education. Okay, so I'm going to move on. So what are the challenges here? I think the big challenge here, I come to the second question, is really identifying and connecting with your market, okay? And this is important because in China, as Dr. Harley mentioned, it's really big. You can't think of just one China. You've got different regions of China, you know, and they're different personalities. But one thing you can be sure is that from the studies that were done in this year, 2020, PricewaterhouseCoopers and McKinsey, they really identified what your market is. And I'm going to end on this note. The market really is in the urban consumers market. And one last thing is that your key markets are the second, third, and fourth tier cities. This is your market. Okay, I'm out of time, but I'm glad to answer any questions that some of you may have. Hopefully, I can give you more insight as a local person practicing and living in China full time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Russell Liu. I realize that our speakers cannot finish what they have prepared. We will do a survey to our audience. If you want to listen more of the speakers, or you want to just finish the webinar as we planned within 1 hour or with 1 hour 10 minutes. Well, let's see, what's your feedback. And now I am informed that Madam Bonnie Girard has managed to connect to our audience, to our webinar through a cell phone call. And let's try, let's give it a shot. Please go ahead, Bonnie Girard. Hi, Bonnie, aloha. Turn on your microphone. Or can we do that for her? Well, Tim, do you have any solutions to tell her? We just cannot. Then let's probably, Kim, let's move on to the question and answer session. And if she can sort out the problem during the question and answer session, we come back instead of trying to solve the problem. Okay, dear audience from Hawaii, and if you have any questions to any of the speakers, we had Chinese officials, we have legal services, we have AmCham from the trade industry.
Hello?
Oh yeah, we have you. Okay, well, last not the
Oh,
least.
I'm sorry, Gordon, I interrupted you.
No problem. Welcome. Please go ahead. I think we all look forward to hearing from you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Gordon, and thank you to everybody for your patience. And I appreciate it very much. And thank you, Gordon, earlier for that wonderful introduction. I will attempt to live up to at least a small part of it. Do you have the slides up for the audience, Gordon?
Yes, it's on already. Okay.
Oh, okay. That would be great. And if you can go to the next slide, which is challenges, I'd appreciate it.
Yes.
So I'd like to begin by saying that I appreciated all of the other panelists and their perspectives and viewpoints. And Gordon has known me for a little while, so he knows that I'm also very direct. So I'm going to be a little bit direct in this talking to what I think are some Hawaii businesses. China, from my 33-year perspective, is a completely different business model from anything you will experience anywhere else in the world. And I've had the good fortune to work in Europe as well as the United States, so I'm comparing with those two rather large areas. Business is much more political in China than it is necessarily elsewhere. Particularly the larger you go, the more impactful your business may be, the more political it's going to be. Not to say it isn't in other areas, but in China, it's absolutely so. And you may have heard, and it is true, and therefore it's important to devise ways to protect it. Your intellectual property is at greater risk in China. But there's some special things I want to talk about in that regard with respect specifically to Hawaii and Hawaii companies. Gordon, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please.
Yes, it's done.
Okay. So after many, many years of doing business in China, actually beginning in 1989, and then starting my own consulting company in 1996 in Beijing, I would say that the most important aspect of your market entry into China is absolutely due diligence. Now, that's across the board in any country, even in our own. You should always know as much as you can about your stakeholders and their environment. It's particularly suggested for China. And I recommend, and of course this is a self-serving statement, but I'll make it anyway, use an external expert to help you understand your 360-degree business environment in China. Understand who your customers are, who their other vendors are, what the local business environment is. And Gordon, if you could go to the next slide.
Yes, it's done.
In other words, know your ecosystem. What's the pecking? Pecking order? Who is connected to whom? Where are those connections between the business you want to do and the government? Are there any? Get recommendations. If you have sought out a customer or they've sought you out, find out who they are connected to. Get references. Keep in mind one thing. You're in an environment that you don't know. any of us, when we're in our own country or in our own state in the United States, we're on home turf. You're going to somebody else's turf. And my experience has always been that reputable Chinese companies and the local government and the provincial government, and if you've gone that high, the national government, they want you to do due diligence because reputation is important to reputable companies. The companies who will push back on you are probably the ones that you might want to have second thoughts about. So remember also, if you're a small company, that companies in China are eager to have what you have very often, and that's where the protection of intellectual property comes in. We don't have time right now to go into ways to protect it, but this is where being Hawaiian has something special, I believe. If you could go to the next slide, please, Gordon. And then the next one after that.
Yeah.
So why does Hawaii have particular opportunities, I think, in selling into China? I believe it is because made in Hawaii cannot be copied. And I'm going to give you a few examples after this slide. For those of you who are Hawaiian, I suppose you know you live in one of the most exotic places in the world. It is seen that way around the world. What you have cannot be copied. And therefore, things that you make in Hawaii that are branded made in Hawaii have that special cachet, have that special brand that even if someone wanted to knock them off in China or elsewhere with a similar design, they cannot copy made in Hawaii. And I believe that made in Hawaii in and of itself has intrinsic value, not only in China, but around the world, because it evokes something very special, which is the place that you live and the place that you work. So please go to the next slide, Gordon.
Yes, done.
So we here at China Channel had a good think, and we did some research. And our partner, Roland Evans, came up with a few ideas, as did I, and we want to present some of these simple ideas to you. We know that you export honey, but do you export queen bees themselves? We know it's a multi-million-dollar industry. We know that queen bees from Hawaii come to the United States, go to Canada, and I'm sure go to other countries around the world. I don't know if there's currently an export market between China and Hawaii, from Hawaii to China for queen bees, but I think that given two things, first of all, that it would be an introduction of a new species of bee into China, and also due to the fact that China has had problems with its honey industry over the years, reputational problems. I think this could be an interesting thing to look at. So that's our first suggestion. And it can be a small, by the way, it can be a small producer. It doesn't have to be large. All right, next one, please, Gordon.
Yes, done.
We came across this company, Island Slipper, in our research. They are a small, high-end boutique brand. They make slippers that cost over $100 a pair. They have some on the low end, that is $70 or $80, according to their website. But we were astonished to see how they brand themselves. Next slide, please, Gordon.
Yes, done.
Why is Island Slipper interesting? Why would this be a type of product. What are the characteristics that make it a type of product that we could see being exported from Hawaii? Well, number one, it is made in Hawaii. It has pedigree. Pedigree is important to the Chinese consumer. On its website, it says, since 1946, I believe, we have made our slippers by hand on Oahu. That is pedigree. That is something the Chinese consumer looks for. Number two, it's branded. They tell you on their website that they are proud to collaborate with brand partners like Allen Emmons and Leather Soul, J. Crew, and Barney's New York. That gives this company social status. This is something else that the middle class up to high-end Chinese consumer looks for. They want something that has a brand associated with it. And then thirdly, high-end. As they tell you, we only use the best materials from around the world and do not compromise quality for price. To me, this small company collectively comprises three aspects of what companies from Hawaii might want to look at if they're going to China: pedigree, brand, and high-end. And number four, of course, is made in Hawaii, something that nobody can copy. Okay, next one. We also found that you have a number of companies making doggy treats. Again, made in Hawaii, reliable ingredients, and the pet industry in China is huge and status-driven. We know that a lot of Chinese consumers, if they can afford it, source foods from outside of China due to reputational problems in China. How wonderful for these consumers to be able to source food for their pets. Another status symbol from Hawaii, from exotic Hawaii. We thought this would be something that perhaps some of your companies might be interested in looking at. And then finally, the next one.
Yep.
You have a company called Ocean Organic Vodka. Again, this company, from what we can tell from the website, has attributes which are attractive to the Chinese consumer. First of all, it's one of a kind. I take their word for it. Why is it one of a kind? Because they use deep ocean mineral water to make their vodka. They use organic sugarcane. They claim they are the only one in the world to have this kind of recipe for their vodka. What a concept. The spirits, wine, and in general alcohol business in China, the market is huge. And I believe that, again, made in Hawaii with these kinds of really unique properties is the kind of company that should look to going into the market. Okay, next one.
Yeah.
I want to say before we finish up with these last couple of slides, Hawaii's population rounded off is 1.4 million. China's is 1.4 billion. China's population is 1,000 times the Hawaiian population. So that in itself is a challenge. But I believe with the things we've discussed that there are opportunities. Keep in mind, you're in a new operating system when you go to China. The role of law is different in China than it is in the United States and many Western countries. So it's in this new operating system, it does require flexibility and adaptation to understand where you are and how the market works. Next slide, please, Gordon.
Yep, done.
Okay. The government plays a larger role, as I mentioned earlier. And as I said, you may interact far more with government and political interests than you might in the US or somewhere else in the world. Next slide, please. You've heard this. I can't emphasize how important this is. Relationships count more in China than in any place, certainly, that I've ever done business. The most successful clients that we have had over the last 24 years have all been clients who have been willing to pick up and spend time in China, actually spend time with their customers. We're not talking about arriving on Monday and leaving in time to get home for the weekend. We're talking about spending weeks and sometimes months. You're closer to China, so it's easier to fly home. But we really recommend spending as much time with the people who are your stakeholders than you might anywhere else in the world, because business in China is not just transactional. It's about the reliability of the relationship. My theory is that because the law plays a lesser role in the building of business in China, relationships therefore count more, because you have to rely on something and that is generally the relationship. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for waiting for it, and thank you again to the state of Hawaii and to you, Gordon, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Bonnie Girard, and I'm sure that her presentation presents something different from other speakers. She has been known to be very direct, and well, I have to say that she, after these 30 years, she knows how to do business in China. Well, as well as the other speakers, well, they are all very experienced. And now we come to the question and answer session. I noticed that when audience raised the question and it's gone there, and I'm not sure whether it's answered or he withdrew. And audience, you have any questions, please, well, raise your hand. And now our technician will let you in and speak directly to our speakers. Anyone? I don't see any question. Yes, well,
can you see me?
Fiona Wang
have a
has
question?
something to say, and I forgot to mention that you have noticed that they have 4 people, and actually besides the economic the board of investment promotion and economic development, we also have ladies from the Department of Commerce. They pay a lot of attention to this. They give a lot of importance to this meeting, and so they support Fiona Wang for this webinar. And please go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Gordon. Actually, my name is Han Jia from Hainan Provincial Foreign Affairs Office, and actually, I am working on the sister state and province between Hawaii and Hainan province. And so I only have small questions for you, exactly, because we kind of like have some difficulty in connecting with the, well, the the office of Hawaii government. I think it's not only because of the geographical distance, but also probably we have fewer well, concrete projects between between us. So I would like to ask for your help that maybe in the future, can you be the contact person for us, for the 2 states, for the province and states, to would you help us to get connected in the future?
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
Well, As I told our audience, the DBAT Beijing office has been here for well over 13, 14 years. And actually, we have been maintaining a working relationship with Hainan Foreign Affairs Office. And actually, that's all the communications we got from, Hainan Foreign Affairs Office, we forward to Hawaii, to DBAT. And I trust, yes, the fact is that we didn't have a lot of substantial interactions between the two states or provinces, because we used to, I think we used to have different priorities. That's what I can say. What Hainan has been looking for example, Island Economy Forum, environmental protection, and trade shows. And well, Hawaii is a small economy, and if the businesses, this is why we run these series of webinars. We want to tell our businesses that that there are opportunities. Well, as our speaker said, we have very different political or governmental systems. We cannot say that DBAT we send a delegation to Hainan. It does not make that much sense, frankly. We only support our business, our companies, if they have such a wish, they have such a say internal push, then we, the DBAT government office, will support their initiative. And of course, I'm sure that we have Jamie Lam from DBAT, the Business Support Division, and also Timothy Tu. Afterwards, I will give you their contacts, and you can also, while you can maintain contacts with me, and you can also communicate with them. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we have one question here. Let me see. In spending time in China. Let me read out. This is from Michael Yamaguchi. In spending time in China, does this include a budget to dive and drink with government officials and the potential clients? Well, I noticed that actually Madam Xue from Guangdong is replying this question. It's gone already. So I do not know what is going on. Questions came in and go out. Yeah, well, after I finished the question and I don't know whether it's withdrawn or it's answered. Okay. Any questions from our audience or even from our speakers? Well, Mr. Russell Liu, your microphone. No, it's not on.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just want to quickly add on just a question about the budget for dining, drinking with government officials. You got to be really aware as Americans. We have what things called the Foreign Corruption Practices Act, okay? And I think pretty much you need to be aware that there's certain federal laws about having to spend money if you're trying to influence somebody in the decision-making process. And I think today's business is much more transparent, and I see less of that. And I would also, in China, there's they have their own corruption laws. So again, I think that spending time to drink or dine with government officials, I mean, if it's a public event where many businesses are meeting the government officials and it's not a one-on-one, that may be a better practice rather than trying to have a budget to specifically wine and dine government officials. You just need to be aware there is a FCPA, Foreign Corruption Practices Act, that guides American businesses, citizens doing business in China and abroad.
Thank you, Mr. Russell Liu. And I was reminded just through a chat box, our audience are supposed to raise their questions in the questions box, but somebody reminded me that the questions were in the chat box. And this question is from John Batlach. Value added or branded food, how is this approached in China, project making firms, and how to establish vendors that are intended in long-term relations for product manufacturing?
Yes, it's so specialized. My friends from China say they love a lot of American things, but when you start to talk about something that's a premium, with the brand of Hawaii on it, it's a whole other, it's not, a commodity. It's some specialized item, and it's a real special, we're talking about specialty foods, and things like that are like, how would you begin to bring them and find markets for them in China?
Thank you. I think that, can we invite Bonnie Girard to answer this question? Can you hear me?
Thank you, Gordon. As with every approach in China, if you are looking to bring something into the country that has quite a regulatory environment surrounding its entry into the country, which of course any kind of a food product would, whether you would be actually exporting it to China or manufacturing it in China, as with here, you would come up against this regulatory requirements. That means dealing with the government. And just as a one-line reminder, start as far up the food chain as you can in that world. Start as far as you can toward the top of the government regulatory environment that controls your business. Usually, not always, but usually, a company just coming into China, landing in Shanghai or Guangdong or Beijing, won't be able to effect that top level access quickly or easily. But there are people who can help you do that. And that's why I mentioned in my presentation, use external sources to help you do that, who have trusted partners in China who can provide that kind of access, and take direction. The government will steer you to the right procedures to bring your product in. And they will not be worried about, they won't be afraid of specialized products. Often government ministries deal with very detailed divisions of products and commodities. So this is something that you can do. It will take time. Nothing extra, like the previous questioner might have been implying, is necessary. If you're asked for something extra outside the normal business practices, accepted international standards, just simply don't. Just simply don't. And work with people who have that access. Start at the top, and you'll be all right. Just be willing to put some time into it.
I hope Bonnie's answer can address some of your concerns. And our other speakers, do you want to make contributions to this question? No? Okay, let's see whether there are other questions. Well, one of the earlier questions was addressed to Mr. Russell Liu about, you know, the visa issue, and this has been answered by Mr. Russell Liu. And our listeners can, you know, please, if you are interested about the visa issue, you can see the answer from the question and answer box. Any new questions? It seems no more new questions coming in. Okay, if no more questions, let me see the chat box. I see something. Well, the questions have been answered. Okay, if no more questions and the time is up again, and it's far past our deadline. And lastly, I would thank you to our speakers. You know, they spent hours before and after, and we look forward to your support in the future. And of course, you know, we, as I said to our Hainan friends, that we from our office, at least, that we will work closer together with you. And to our audience, I just want to remind you that we have our next webinar scheduled on November 19th, and with the subject of steps and the procedures to start doing business in China. I know that, you know, some of the concerns were raised and answered today, but next session will specially address these questions about how to start your business in China. And thank you so much, and look forward to see you next time. And please go to our website to register for the next webinar. Thank you.